This week marks the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. Preparations for the UN's second Durban Racism Conference have now moved, therefore, into a new and alarming phase. Yom Kippur and the decision of the committee to hold an anti-racism meeting on this day confirms fears that Durban follow-up has become synonymous with anti-Semitism and the violation of racial and religious equality rather than its reverse. The written contribution and oral statement today of the Organization of the Islamic Conference contains some familiar strategies. Alleged Palestinians are the victims of Israeli racism, a throwback to the racist and discredited Zionism as racism slander. Promote double standards. Israel is singled out for condemnation while no mention of racism is made by any other state. Profess interest in non-discrimination based on religion without mentioning endemic violations of freedom of religion, which are commonplace in the very same states with his newfound zeal for religious liberty. Use claims of Islamophobia to justify curtailing freedom of expression and stifling efforts to combat terrorism. We therefore strongly condemn any plan to use the OIC's contribution in any consolidated outcome document of the Second Durban Conference. The report of the Regional Preparatory Meeting for Africa, the Abuja Declaration, takes its inspiration from the values and principles of human dignity and equality enshrined in the African Charter. Those values include a vow to undertake to eliminate Zionism, a racist statement in its own right. The various elements of the Abuja Declaration are antithetical to the genuine battle against racism. Iran, as a vice chairperson of the Bureau of this preparatory committee and a member of the group of friends advising the chairperson of the working group, is playing a leading role in planning this conference. And yet the statement of its president at the opening of the General Assembly includes a reference to a, quote, a small but deceitful number of people called Zionists that have been dominating financial and monetary centers and political decision-making in a deceitful, complex, and furtive manner, unquote. These words were met by a round of applause from the assembled states and a hug from the General Assembly. This, of course, is classic anti-Semitism.
There is a request for a point of order from the delegation of Iran. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. With all respect to the members of civil society and the representatives of NGOs, I think the agenda items we are discussing now and the agenda items under consideration at hand are quite clear. They are all about the reports and studies and contributions to the Durban Review Conference. What we are hearing now is some statements which has nothing to do with the agenda item at hand. There are some misquotations and accusations, actually, and distortion of realities which would not be appropriate to be raised here in this very august body. Therefore, I request you, Madam Chairperson, to draw the attention of the Speaker to the fact that we are discussing agenda items 4, 3, 4, and 5, which are all about the reports, studies, and contributions to the Durban Review Conference. Any other matter, I think, would not be appropriate to raise here. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Of course, you are right to refer to that point. I wanted to let that pass because each time I interrupted speakers who made similar statements, we were accused of not being impartial. This is why I allowed the speaker to go on speaking. However, since my attention was drawn and the attention of the presidency was drawn to the fact that the speaker is not speaking on the items under discussion, and I believe that the distinguished representative of Iran is quite right. I believe that I can but refer the speaker to the titles of the 3 items under discussion, items 3, 4, and 5. Madam, you have the floor, but please remain in order. Thank you, Madam. You have the floor.
The reply of Iran to the questionnaire under Agenda Item 4 states, the Republic of Iran states that as a matter of policy and practice it is opposed to any form of discrimination, unquote. Therefore, it is clear that the anti-Semitism professed by its president is in fact under the agenda item, and putting and retaining Iran in a position of authority in planning of this conference puts its authenticity as a vehicle for defeating racism as thoroughly in doubt and discredited. Fifth, the report of the Intersessional Working Group is an alarming document. Its reference to all the victims named in the Durban Declaration is a clear call to include in the DDPA the claim that Palestinians are victims of Israeli racism. The new UN High Commissioner for Human Rights begins her tenure by criticizing not the substance of the Durban Declaration, but the decision of Canada, Israel, and the United States not to participate in the Durban process. Contrary to her claims, the anti-Semitism of the first Durban conference was not merely a result of NGOs on the sidelines, as paragraph 63 of the government declaration attests, nor was it adopted by consensus, since the U.S. and Israel didn't participate and many substantial reservations were made to the Durban Declaration. Durban is not given us a comprehensive plan of action to combat racism in all its forms, unless one accepts the demonization of Israel as a legitimate formula for combating racism rather than encouraging it. The slogan of the Durban Review Conference is more accurately, united against racism, dignity and justice for all, except Jews. And the High Commissioner would do well to find an alternative venue for a genuine campaign to combat racism.